You ever wake up and think, is this a dream or am I about to be on the evening news? That was me 6 a.m., dead asleep, still in my panda pajamas, when I heard banging outside, car doors slamming, and that distinct static of police radios. I peeked through my blinds and saw flashlights sweeping across my porch like I was some fugitive. And there, in the middle of my lawn like she owned the damn sunrise, was Karen Wellington, president of our HOA, on the phone with 911 yelling, "There's a strange man squatting in my son's lakefront house." Except it wasn't her son's house. It was mine. Bought it 3 months prior, fair and square, from a guy named Harold Hartwell. I signed all the documents, paid the down payment, even repainted the shutters to match HOA's ridiculous top guidelines. But to Karen, none of that mattered. To her, that house belonged to the Wellington family legacy. And I was just occupying her narrative. Let me back up a sec. I moved to Sunset Lake for the quiet. The fishing, the sunsets, the kind of life where you sip your morning coffee with your feet in the grass and your phone on, do not disturb. I thought I was buying peace. What I didn't realize was I'd also bought a front row seat to a local power struggle straight out of a bad soap opera. So when I opened the door that morning, half asleep, there was Karen, flawless makeup, HOA badge pinned like she was on a presidential motorcade, flanked by 2 confused-looking deputies and some kid in a fitted suit holding a folder like it was the Constitution. She pointed at me like I was a war criminal. "That's him. He's trespassing. He broke into my son's property." The older cop, Sheriff Davis, sipped his coffee and raised an eyebrow. "Sir, can you show us any documentation that you own this property?" "Oh, buddy, could I?" I walked inside, grabbed the folder I kept on the kitchen counter for exactly this kind of situation: deed, title, insurance, closing documents, even the receipt for the septic tank inspection. I handed it over like a man handing in his taxes. Sheriff Davis flipped through, gave a little nod, and said, "Everything looks good here." And Karen, her face went from smug to unhinged real quick. "This is our family's land," she snapped. "That house backs onto the Lake Wellington land. It's been ours for generations." Her son Jake, the young attorney, finally spoke up, all calm and polished. "There are legal concerns regarding the sale. We'll be filing a challenge." I stood there barefoot, heart pounding, but I kept my voice steady. "File whatever you want. But you're standing on my property." They backed off that morning anyway, but I knew it wasn't over. Over the next 2 days, the petty violations started. Letter after letter in my mailbox, wrong paint tone, same shade it was when I bought it, grass height too tall, measured at 2.3 inches, regulation is 2.5, parking at the wrong angle in my own driveway, unauthorized kayak by the dock. It was like Karen had hired a private investigator to track my lawnmower settings. Now, I'm a stubborn man by nature, but I also know how to read fine print. So I started digging county zoning records, HOA charters, land surveys. And that's when I found its smoking gun. My property, legally, wasn't even under HOA jurisdiction. Yep. Somewhere along the way, Karen had been using an altered version of the HOA boundary map, one that magically included my house and a few other lakefront properties. But the official county map told a different story. State land. Not hers to control. I had a feeling she already knew this. But controlling people is easier when they don't. So I printed everything out, matched it to the county office, then called a neighborhood meeting. I didn't raise my voice, didn't point fingers, I just laid out the truth. And watching Karen's smirk slowly dissolve as her own neighbors turned and whispered, "Man, that was better than coffee." But the twist? It came from her son. See, Jake Wellington had always stood behind his mom, loyal like a golden retriever in a tie. But after the meeting, he reached out quietly. Said he wanted to talk. Said there were things about his family, about his own inheritance, that never made sense. Something about the will, about lakefront land being meant for a community benefit, not private control. Long story short, Karen had adopted Jake when he was 3. Kept it from him his entire life. His father Arthur Wellington had written a will years before he died, leaving that property in trust specifically for adopted children. And Karen, she buried that will in probate, hid his adoption, and rewrote the story so that Jake believed he was the biological heir to the Wellington legacy. All while using him as her legal sword. When I handed him a copy of the real will dug up through a mutual contact in family services, I watched the man's entire face change. Shock, grief, then anger. He didn't say much, just, "She lied to me my whole life." The next time I saw them together, Karen had stormed into his office mid-conversation, saw the document spread out, and froze. "Where did you get that?" she hissed, voice low, eyes darting. Jake stood up, holding the will like it weighed 100 pounds. "You lied to me. This ends now." And it did. Sort of. Jake backed me in every legal filing after that. Confirmed the boundary fraud, helped others on the lake understand their property rights, and most importantly filed for control over the Wellington estate to follow his father's real intentions. Karen. Well, her downfall wasn't just HOA embarrassment. Turns out, when the county started investigating the boundary forgery, they found evidence that she doctored other HOA documents to funds she made up, properties she claimed jurisdiction over that weren't hers. It snowballed. Last I heard, she's facing charges for fraud and falsification of public records. And my house? My lake? Still mine. Now, I sit on my porch most mornings, coffee in hand, dogs waddling by, no angry letters in sight. And every so often, I see Jake. We nod. No hard feelings. The guy got used to. But every time someone new moves into the neighborhood and jokes about how strict the HOA is, I just smile and say, "Be glad you missed the Karen years." So yeah, that happened. Sometimes, power isn't about who owns the land. It's about who's willing to fight for the truth beneath it. Let me ask you something: if someone tried to take away what was rightfully yours, would you walk away or dig deeper? Drop a comment below, because I'd love to hear where you draw the line between peace and justice. And hey, if you've ever had a run-in with an HOA dictator, don't be shy, share your story. You never know whose fight you might be helping next. You ever wake up and think, is this a dream or am I about to be on the evening news? That was me 6 a.m., dead asleep, still in my panda pajamas, when I heard banging outside, car doors slamming, and that distinct static of police radios. I peeked through my blinds and saw flashlights sweeping across my porch like I was some fugitive. And there, in the middle of my lawn like she owned the damn sunrise, was Karen Wellington, president of our HOA, on the phone with 911 yelling, "There's a strange man squatting in my son's lakefront house." Except it wasn't her son's house. It was mine. Bought it 3 months prior, fair and